Chapter 6, Queen. Cush could not sleep that night, and as soon as he thought that Mammalean was up, he ran to her house. "Child, you's up with the chickens this morning, ain't ya?" Cush shook his head. "Yeah, Mammalean, I can see everything in my mind as you tell your story. And I feel as the characters feel, as if I'm the person in whom you're speaking about. I felt Dasinga's love, jealousy, and frustration." Mammalean smiled. "That might be a gift. Come on in here and get you some teat." You know, Ron's relationship helped him understand a new era that was coming. Sabaoth sent him to Ron to understand the pain, abuse, and frustration our people endured since being here on this land. He saw the creation of that movement and understood its purpose. He understood the cause. "Now, come on here." Mammalean made them a big breakfast and they sat in the living room. Mammalean began. Tucson, Arizona, also known as the Old Pueblo, located in the western part of the states, a place rich in fertile green patches throughout the area, yet a dry, desert land filled with many Wakatilians, who have lost hope and refuse to dream. Cush interrupted. "Why so dramatic, Mammalean?" Mammalean looked at Cush. "Boy, who's telling this story, you or me?" Smiling, she cleared her throat, and she started over. Tucson, Arizona, also known as the Old Pueblo, is in the western part of the states, rich in fertile green patches throughout the area, yet a dry, desert land filled with many Mestizos. She paused. "I said Wakatilians at first, but by that time they were about to meet the man of Sabaoth. So, they were still Wakatilians. Let me start over again." Cush looked at Mammalean. "Mammalean, come on." She took a sip of coffee. "Okay, seriously, Tucson, Arizona, also known as the Old Pueblo, is in the western part of the states, rich in fertile green patches throughout the area, yet a dry, desert land filled with many Wakatilians who had once lost hope and refused to dream. Many were just as dry as the desert surrounding them, and the few that had hope could have been represented by the fertile green patches throughout the land. Tucson has a hot desert climate with two major seasons, sweltering summer and mild winter. The weather in the fall is much like spring, dry, with warm days and cool nights, and the summers are just plain hot. However, unlike Louisiana, they didn't have a lot of humidity. The monsoon season typically begins in July and continues through September. During the monsoon, the humidity is much higher than the rest of the year. Clouds build up from the south in the early afternoon, followed by intense thunderstorms and rainfall, which cause flash flooding. The evening sky is the most beautiful sight to see during this time of year, with orange, red, and purple skies, pierced with dramatic lightning strikes. Tucson itself was a city surrounded by mountains in every direction. Santa Catalina Mountains and the Tortolita Mountains to the north, the Santa Rita Mountains to the south, the Rincon Mountains to the east, and the Tucson Mountains to the west. Sentinel Peak, also known as a mountain, has a giant A stamped on its side in honor of the old University of Arizona, but now represents the Abenians. The top of Sentinel Peak, accessible by road, offers an outstanding scenic view of the city looking eastward. An old abandoned parking lot atop Sentinel Peak was a place to watch sunsets or view the city lights at night, but now serves as a waiting area for those visiting from the nearby bubble city of Phoenix, approximately 118 miles west of the city. Mount Lemmon became the epicenter of disgrace and abomination in the nation, a place where people sell their souls for drugs and alcohol. A modern-day Sodom and Gomorrah. The Santa Cruz River partially submerged this city during the great earthquake that destroyed California. Many of the buildings remain as a reminder to those who once lived there of the incredible devastation. For centuries, this area was filled with a rich history of criminals trying to elude authorities, and many battles have been fought here for the blood of the innocent and the souls of the harmless, cries out in this godforsaken land. Some say, it's a place where even time has been forgotten. They filled it with Wakatilians who forsaken the Torah and filled their lives with whiskey, whoredom, and selfishness. What they once knew as Tucson's largest park, Reed Park, which included a zoo just west of the now abandoned Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, lies a village of Wakatilians who resist this way of life. These outcasts call themselves Hijos del Altísimo, translated as Children of the Most High. Here, the people separate themselves from those who disrespect themselves and Sabaoth. Unlike the Wakatilians of Louisiana, they created, repaired, and sold the technology for a living and spoke as many as 8 languages. Their chief, Dark Eagle, and his wife, Isabella, governed these people. A man truly dedicated to the ways of Sabaoth. They had 3 sons, Alemwa, Kisama, Nippahem, and raised his great-niece, Anaya, from Ireland, which they called Queen. Dark Eagle and his twin brother, Shaka, were both from Louisiana, but their father made them leave the area after an enormous disagreement and fear that they would kill each other. They went their separate ways at the young age of 21. His brother, Shaka, moved to Ireland, and Dark Eagle, whose name at birth was Akodi, wandered in the wilderness for years before settling down in Tucson, where he met his wife, Isabella. 30 years had passed before they reconciled their differences. They were both visited by Mletzi, explaining that all that happened to them was meant to be and it was the will of Sabaoth because of Queen. Queen came to Dark Eagle and Isabella as an infant and was raised as their own. Alemwa, Kisama, and Nippahem were at least 25 years older than her, treated her like a sister, and taught her the ways of their people. An intelligent woman fascinated by how things operated and became a student of computers, electronics, and engineering. She was also a fierce and brave warrior. Her hunger for knowledge came at a young age as Dark Eagle taught her history and the ways of Sabaoth. One day, a stranger approached Dark Eagle when she was 9. The stranger was a dark reddish-brown man who later introduced himself as Red Panther. Dark Eagle introduced himself, and they spoke of the history of the Wakatilians. Queen stood around unnoticed, and she listened to their conversation. The Muskogos, also known as Negros Muskegos, in those days. They were an Afro-descendant group who lived in Coahuila, Mexico, around the town of El Nacimiento. These were the black Seminoles that escaped the threat of being slaves in the United States, said Red Panther. Dark Eagle agreed, we did not all come on ships, I am well aware of that. The entire eastern sea border, particularly the southeast, was heavily populated with Wakatilians from America as well as enslaved Africans as an act of the government around 1682. They classified them both as Negroes. Our ancestors never mentioned anything about us being from Africa. Their parents refused to teach them their original language for fear of being sent to one of the many reservations in Louisiana. They spoke to each other for hours, then Dark Eagle said, "Citate agréable de parler avec vous mon ami, je suis Dark Eagle ou Akodi, je suis un Natchez, Louisiana." Interrupted, "It was nice talking to you, my friend, I'm Dark Eagle or Akodi, I'm a Louisiana Natchez." Red Panther then said, Wanyenyekevu, Chata si hoke, which meant, later, my brother, I am Choctaw. Queen waited impatiently for the two to end their conversation and started asking many questions afterward. It was on this day Dark Eagle gave her family history and told her about her grandfather, Shaka, and her mother. Chia was from that day forward that her thirst for history began. Queen was a tomboy and loved to fight with her brothers, constantly learning new fighting techniques at a young age. One day while in Queen's room, Dark Eagle stumbles upon a book that wasn't familiar to him, and he read it. I want to sing. I want to sing. I want to roll, I want to hold, mix a vibrato, here and there and make a sound that harmony would appreciate. Jointly combined with love. A family of love. Brotherly love, the reason why we come together. A dream, a destiny, and to some, a fantasy. That still manifests, that still comes true. At first, I thought my voice couldn't make it, couldn't take it, but after years, I heard my song, I heard me singing, and it turned out right. I wanna sing. Bring the house down. My heart opens up its heart, and I'm carried away in words, in a song. I wanna roll, I wanna hold, I wanna sing. I feel the emotion, but am too shy to express how I feel. But I feel what I feel and I gotta sing. I must sing, I wanna sing like King David and his son, King Solomon. Even Sheba expressed words of love, words of passion, the definition of God. The meaning of Allah. For the children of Isaac and Ishmael, Jacob and Esau, Christian and Muslim, music and sounds. I want to sing. To let those who understand, that I can hear those who hear what I hear is a beautiful tone. I can feel those things people feel, when they feel it, because I can sing. A poet, an artist, a child of God. Like the rest of those, unlike my foes. I wanna sing. I wanna sang. I wanna roll, I wanna hold, mix a vibrato, here and there and a sound that harmony would appreciate, jointly combined with love, a family of love, brotherly love. The reason why we come together. A dream, a destiny, and to some, a fantasy. After reading a few more pages, Dark Eagle put it away and was very impressed with her writing abilities. He placed the book exactly how he found it and left the room. He never told Queen about it and started calling her Coco. Days later, Queen asked, "Why have you started calling me Coco, great uncle?" Dark Eagle smiled, "For you have a hard and tough outward appearance, but on the inside, you are as sweet as a coconut." Queen smiled, "I like that." Then a serious look came upon her face, "But no one else can call me by that name." Dark Eagle smiled, "Yes, ma'am, but me and you need to go on a trip. Go get ready." Queen looked at Dark Eagle's face and knew it was severe. "Where are we going, great uncle?" Dark Eagle smiled, "When I get homesick for Louisiana, or if I need to think about it, I go fishing down at Sabaoth Lake. It has some of the best fish around here." Puzzled, Queen asked, "Why do you want me to go? You always go by yourself?" Dark Eagle said, "I'll tell you on the way. Now go get us some horses ready for the trip. Plus, I'll show you the art of fishing." They got bass, crappie, sunfish, catfish, and bluegill, but I got a taste for some good old catfish. Rushing out of the house, excited, Queen almost knocked Isabella down. "Slow down, little lady, before you cause a wreck," Isabella said as she got out of her way. Queen shouted in excitement to Isabella, "Aunt Isabella, me and Dark Eagle are going on a trip to." Her cousin, Kisama, standing next to Isabella, interrupted Queen, "Sabaoth Lake. The adulthood song and dance, we have all been through it. Boring." Isabella smiled, "This one will be interesting, 'cause you were boys becoming men, and she a girl finna be a woman." And Isabella looked at Queen and smiled again. Kisama started laughing, "I didn't think about that. This will be interesting, why you're not taking her mama?" Isabella laughed, "I'll tell her, when she gets back. We want to do, as you call it, the old song and dance his way." Kisama looked at Queen, "Just smile, Queen. Smile. And nod your head." Queen grabbed Kisama, "Help me get some horses ready, silly man." Kisama shaking his head, Okay, I already know what you need, 3 horses and a small wagon. I was the last one and my brothers helped me." They headed toward the barn where her other 2 cousins, Alemwa and Nipahem, were working. Kisama shouted to his brothers, "Pops is taking Queen to Sabaoth Lake." Alemwa, being the eldest of the 3, held to the nah. "When he took me, he was just talking about, that's okay, I'll let him tell ya." Queen said. "What? Tell me." Alemwa said. "No, believe me, he'll tell you and more." Dark Eagle approached, and everyone got quiet. "You about ready?" Queen replied. "As soon as Nipahem finishes checking all the shoes on the horses, we can go." Dark Eagle looked at Kisama, "Make sure y'all help your mother around the house and check the garden daily. Me and Queen are going to Sabaoth for a few days. The fish are jumping this time of year." Kisama and his brothers responded, "Yes, sir." As Kisama handed Dark Eagle a solar panel operated cooler, "Here's your favorite friend, it should be cold enough by the time you get there." Dark Eagle smiled, "You remembered. I'm kinda worried about this one." Kisama smiled, "I see. But, you got this, Pops." They headed off. Queen paid attention to her surroundings as they both engaged in idle conversation. As they traveled on East 22nd Street, she saw the desert land as she had never seen it before, and it was beautiful, but Dark Eagle compared everything to Louisiana. By the time they reached South Nogales Highway, Queens and Dark Eagle were deeply conversing about technology. Our people didn't care about technology until they made these here solar panel operated cooler, said Dark Eagle. Queen was surprised. For real? Have you ever gone fishing and run out of ice? Dark Eagle looked Queen strangely. Fish don't like that. They like to have ice-cold water before they're eaten. Queen continued to laugh at Dark Eagle as he joked about some of the technology he enjoyed before he got serious. I knew that it was important in some ways to watch what was happening in the world. How can we watch what's happening in the world without it? Weather, news, and such. Our ancestors have always been attracted to the arts, musicians, writers, singers, and things of that nature, like Dasinga, who lived during such greats as Tupac, Nipsey Hussle, Clarissa Shields, Dr. Sebi, and many more. He saw the plan of the evil one trying to separate us from one another through jealousy and envy. He saw how men were manipulating us to hate each other, so he reached out to his brothers and sisters with mere words that would make one think, and Sabaoth granted him a son to continue his work, and we were born to do the same as he did. Cush interrupted Mammalean. That's the same Dasinga? Mammalean shook her head and smiled, ain't but one. Anyways, Dark Eagle was saying that, thinking that Queen might admit that she writes poetry. He hesitated, but she said nothing. I have a few of his poems here. Dark Eagle took out a tablet, saying, 2066. May 25, 1966, was the day I was brought into this cold, dark world. A day I'm indeed proud of. As I get older, I think about life questions. I think we all have as we get older. Get bolder. The doubts, the frustrations, of living in this world. But I wonder, truly wonder. What will it be like in the future? Will technology take us to another level of thinking? Will we be controlled by technology? Telling us when to eat, when to sleep. How to live, how to manage our lives. When to die. Or will we take advantage of technology? Some living in the wild, rejecting the system of the new generation. Because of those that now choose to clone the living. To set their rules over them. Slaves. Having no spirit. No soul. Refuse to let us adapt to their world. But the world is not theirs to change. Oh, what a tangled web they weave. While the rest fight hard for what they believe. One thing I do know is that the end will surely be near, unlike before. Because the spirit of the clones shall rule. Those fake Christians will become as fools. Nonsense is what they shall call it, leaving a way for the Antichrist. Forgetting the supreme sacrifice. 2066 is the year, a century, 100 years from the time I was born. A day, I think this world might be gone. I might be wrong, but I see as clear as day. This world is slowly turning another way. Like in the olden days, in the years of Lot. As I get older, I can see the transformation of a new era, the same ways, but a new day. Yes, time is changing, going forward, but men's minds stay in prehistoric times. Going backward, yet going forward. Knowing, slowly, as I see the perversion. I get sicker of the ways things are, but there are some who believe that that's the way life is supposed to be. While I get sick, they get comfortable, losing more and more of their soul. I can only imagine how it will be in the future. Let's say in the year 2066. Dark Eagle tries to explain the poem. Here, he wonders how to deal with the fact that the world is changing. But Queen's interrupted. Not only that, he wonders if the world is going forward or backward because things are not changing but getting worse, and within 100 years of his birth, he doesn't see hope, but evil. Enough evil to bring about the Antichrist. Dark Eagles smile with a look of being proud. Oh, my dear sweet Coco, someone, someday, going to break that hard shell of yours. You're not only beautiful, but intelligent as well. She said, what do you mean? He said, you'll know when it happens, believe me. They finally arrived at the lake after 2 hours, and Dark Eagle checked his favorite hut that he shared with a few friends around the city. No one was there, but the place was clean. Let's just put up the supplies and see what Aunt Isabella made for supper. I smelled it up here. We'll head out first thing in the morning. Queen agreed as they put up the supplies and sat around talking. Dark Eagle paused and looked around. I love the way Yuka and White Bear clean up the place when they are finished with it. Honestly, I think she got OCD, but they have been together for about 40 years. Out of amazement, Queen said. Now, that's a mighty long time. Dark Eagle smiled. Me and your aunt been together close to 35 years ourselves. Some people used to date many people before settling down with just one and still end up breaking up with that person. I believe many women tried to find the perfect man, but always compared one with another and were never satisfied. A perfect person doesn't exist. And then some find one and get married. Queen looked at Dark Eagle. I'm not going to marry anyone. I will be a warrior for Sabaoth. Dark Eagle smiled. You're too young to even think about a boy anyway, and I'm going to be with your auntie until I die. Queen got upset when he said the word die, and Dark Eagle saw it. Death is not a bad thing. If you're born, you surely have to die. It's what happens to the soul we are concerned about. Queen said. I have heard the word die and death many times before, but you said it. It had me thinking. If I ever get married, my firstborn son will be named Cody, after you. Dark Eagle smiled, would be honored. They ate supper and talked all night before finally calling it a night. Dark Eagle woke up at 2 a.m., and Queen was already up writing in her pad. She wrote, Dear Buffalo Soldier. Dear Buffalo Soldier, I know how the years have worn you down. More than a century in age, life has put you in and out of the fire, since you've been around. The trials, temptations, and tribulations of time, has created wisdom, understanding, and knowledge, that many don't know of. Living that long you had to know, the man up above. Rugged old soldier, it's time to let you go in peace. I have held on to you for all these years. But it's time to let you go, give you peace, and myself relief. I've kept the knowledge you instilled within me. Back then, it seemed like you were the only one that cared. And I cried, until I could cry no more. Giving myself the reality, that you are truly gone. All I can do is remember the times we shared. Some say you were very, very mean. But I'm glad the times we shared weren't a dream. A sad song, but a happy one as well. Your spirit is within, and I feel a lot closer to you. I've gotten a lot bolder, so farewell. Buffalo Soldier. Whatcha writing, Queen? Closing the pad as she wiped a tear from her eye, she smiled. Just some thoughts about what we were talking about earlier. Dark Eagle said, well, if you're ready to get down on some of that tender catfish. What we call, back home, good eating, this afternoon, we better get started. They loaded up the wagon and headed to the lake, half a mile north. In front of the lake was a canoe with all the accessories needed for them to enjoy their day. Queen noticed Dark Eagle in deep thought as they got to the center of the lake. She smiled, a penny for your thoughts. He smiled, what do you know about that? She replied, Auntie Isabella always asks me that when she sees me thinking. He hesitated, I had a dream last night, and it's been a long time since I've had one like that. In my dream, I saw a black bear, but only Louisiana has black bears. Anyway, this bear was here in Arizona, and it stirred up some killer bees, and the bees started killing everything and everyone in its path. When they sting you, they would drain your soul. Many became heartless and soulless, like zombies or something. The bear rose up and began protecting everyone, and those that touched the bear called him Orso Nero. It took a while, but the people that touched the bear, they turned into great and fierce animals, and together they started destroying the killer bees. The more the killer bees grew, the more people started touching the black bear, and they defeated the killer bees, and you were beside the bear. Queen said, that sounds crazy. Dark Eagle said, some killer bees turned and started fighting with the black bear. Then suddenly, a great demon arose out of the ground and started fighting the black bear, but Sabaoth shined a light on the monster and defeated it. Puzzled, Queen asks, what does your dream mean, great uncle? Dark Eagle said, I have no idea, but I bet it has something to do with what they are building in Phoenix. Queen curiously asks, "What's that?" Dark Eagle looked at Queen. "Many have left here to live a life of luxury and contentment because of the city's bubble. That is why." Dark Eagle felt something pulling on his line. "Got something?" Dark Eagle got excited. "I got something too, great uncle." Queen shouted. "Reel it in slowly and tug ever so gently, so it thinks something is resisting, and it lodges the hook in deeper as it fights back." 4 hours had passed, and they had 6 catfish, a bass, and a few smaller fish before the sun rose. "I love seeing the sunrise and setting in this place, it's so tranquil," said Dark Eagle as he sat in the canoe and looked at the sunrise. Queen said, "It is beautiful, but I have nowhere else to compare it with." Dark Eagle shook his head. "Maybe one day, you will." Dark Eagle hesitated for a while. "I brought you out here because I realized you are coming of age now, 11 years old, and you will soon be a woman. You see, men have to go through different obstacles and trials to prove that they are men. But women, well, you go through all kinds of things that make you a woman." Queen said, "What things?" being sarcastic, as a single sweat beaded on Dark Eagle's brow. You guys have periods, Anne." Laughing, Queen said, "Like Aunt Isabella always says, I was born at night, but not last night, great uncle." "I know about that stuff already, great uncle, but I thought Aunt Isabella was supposed to be talking to me about this kind of stuff. My friend, Yuka, started hers a week ago, and I have read a few books about it. I understand that the menstrual cycle occurs when you get to a certain age, and it's different for every girl. Anywhere from 11 to 14 years old, they grow pubic hair, and their breasts bud. Menstruation is the elimination of the thickened lining of the uterus from the body through the vagina containing blood, cells from the lining of the uterus, and mucus." Queen noticed Dark Eagle felt uncomfortable as she spoke, but continued, "The average length of a period is between 3 days and 1 week. Then comes the follicular phase. It starts on the first day of menstruation and ends with ovulation. Ovulation is the release of a mature egg from the surface of the ovary." Dark Eagle started scratching his head. But she continued, "The egg is funneled into the fallopian tube and toward the uterus by waves of small, hair-like projections. The lifespan of the typical egg is only around 24 hours. Unless it meets a sperm." Dark Eagle finally interrupted her as he said in a voice of relief, "I admit now, that Isabella should have spoken to you, but I felt like I had to say something to you, and that wasn't it. What I can tell you is this. Yes, you are a young and also an intelligent lady, at that. Still, when you find love, I want you to remember that love is compromising, being considerate, and being understanding towards one another, but above all that, in a few words, respect, honor, and show your appreciation toward each other. But it has to be shared amongst the both of you, and even give and take. Anyways, that's enough of that conversion, let's finish fishing. 'Cause we still have to clean them and definitely gotta eat them." Queen smiled. During ovulation, the egg bursts from its follicle, but the ruptured follicle stays on the surface of the ovary. Dark Eagle and Queen laughed. "Get your smart ass on with that shit, too smart for your own damn good." Dark Eagle and Queen continued fishing and returned, where they cleaned and enjoyed a lovely meal together. Queen grew older and wiser by the time she was 25. She was a tall woman with long blackish-brown locks and was slightly muscular for a woman. Queen had grown to be a very serious and demanding woman around the city. She demanded respect, but she didn't have to since many already respected her, and some even feared her, men and women alike. She and her brothers had defeated many Anakitas and Computans from around their territory. By this time, their territory expanded as far west as Interstate 10, north to East Speedway Street, and as far east as South Houghton Road, yet more was needed for the community itself had grown and crowded in some areas. The old Davis-Monthan Air Force Base was now their base of operation for training. Queen was uncomfortable that many of their enemies surrounded them on top of the 4 significant mountains surrounding her people. She demanded that the Anakitas and Computans move their perverted activities to Saguaro Park and Tucson Park, and that Lemon, Saguaro Park East, and Mica Mountain Park should be their land. Many battles broke out, and the talk of war soon Approached before the word was sent that Abenian Alpha 56 wanted a truce by arranging a meeting at Mount Graham. The 10 elders of the community, 25 warriors alongside Dark Eagle and his children, led a caravan to the meeting heading east on Interstate 10. "We have come a long way, Coco, and we owe it all to you." "Thank you, my daughter," said Dark Eagle. "It is only right. They have that enormous bubble with cities in the skies. How dare they come to our land and drown it with this kind of filth and perversion?" "They could do that stuff in their bubbles," said Queen. "We all have to thank you," said one elder. "Trafficking was a well-known fact in these parts, until you stepped in, and now I can sleep a lot better without worrying about my grandchildren coming up missing." Queen smiled, "Thank you, but it was all of us, not just me." Another elder spoke. "They surround us in every direction on mountain tops as they look down on us. Is it I'm paranoid, or do we all agree?" The elders said in unison, "Agreed." Shaking her head, Queen said, "Then we must take a stand, and they must do their dirt on the opposite side of Interstate 10 and let this road be our division. For we must truly separate ourselves from them." The group traveled until they arrived at Interstate 10 and the Highway 191 connection near Cochise. Elder Running Elk had a few medical conditions and needed rest. Walking, standing, or sitting down too long made his foot swell, but insisted on coming. "There are a few small lakes around here. Send a few warriors out to get more water while we tend to Elder Running Elk," said Dark Eagle to Queen. The men overheard and did so. Queen got off her horse, found some shade, and started writing in her pad. "Beautiful day. What a beautiful day, to pray, to sing, to laugh. What a beautiful day, to cry, to moan, to even cheer. Praying for the strength to go on, to sing a song of joy, because you saw another day. To laugh at the things that surround us, friends and family. To cry for the pain that life holds, to moan for the children who refuse to obey the voice of God. To even cheer, because you chose to see this beautiful day." She wrote, No man shall rule my life, nor control the way that I am. No man can tell me how to love, who to love, because I have to be who I am. Whether you are blind, or whether you can see, I trust no man. No man but me. Trying to tell me how to love, how to talk, how to walk. Telling me how I should be, how to be me. Have you lost your mind? Through my errors, and my errors alone is how I changed. My mistakes have made me learn to choose a different path. Your errors made you choose your way. Your way and not mine. So don't look at me and shake your head. For as you do, I see someone doing the same thing to you. I think like no other man, because who is like me? Who thinks as I think? Talk like I talk. Walk as I walk. No man. Queen, Queen, shouted Dark Eagle. We're ready to get back on the road. Queen looked up and shouted, Okay, be there in a second. After passing Fort Grant Road, they headed back down the road on the edge of Wilcox, Arizona, an old, abandoned town. Ahead of them, they see an older man walking toward them. Queen took the lead and approached the man, a quarter of a mile ahead of the group. Where are you coming from? You don't have a satchel, or anything but that stick. The man looked up at Queen, saying, Good morning to you too. Queen lowered her attitude toward the old man as she looked around. Good day, sir. I have to ask, where are you coming from? The old man smiled. Look around you. There's desert all around us. This could not be an ambush for you or you would have seen it as coming. I'm just an old man walking in the desert. Come, get down off that delightful creature and speak to me. Queen got off her horse and looked around again, confused why this old man was wandering in the desert alone with nothing but a stick in his hand. She asked, Why would you even mention ambush? The man said, I know of your problems with the people surrounding you. Queen became confused. Who are you? The man smiled. I understand why you have to be straightforward and sometimes rude. Being a woman, you have to show strength and not weakness, but you can be yourself around me. My name is Mletzi. Queen then said to the man, Sir, with due respect, you don't know me. Only my people and Sabaoth knows me, Mletzi said. Why do you mention Sabaoth? What if I don't believe in Sabaoth? Queen interrupted the man, you don't have to believe in Sabaoth for him to be there. Mletzi smiled, well said. I thought you believed in Urua? Queen said. I would have to believe in Sabaoth to agree with Urua. The 3 commandments of Urua say that you are number 1, and the vibration that comes out of you is the only vibration you should listen to and pay attention to. You will not offer anyone, nor yourself anything that hurts, and 3 do not offend anyone or anything. Is that not what the commandments teach us in a nutshell? Queen turned to motion the group to approach. The warriors surrounded the elders, and as they slowly approached the 2, she turned back around, and Mletzi was gone. Where did that old man go? Said Dark Eagle. Queen was puzzled. He said his name was Mletzi and was talking about. Dark Eagle had a weird look on his face as he interrupted her. Mletzi, Mletzi, I have heard that name before. He stood there thinking and scratching his head, repeating the name a few times before saying. Let's go, time is wasting, we must be at the meeting before sunset. The discussion of the man's disappearance was their direct conversation until the elder, Running Elk, had to stop again near Cactus Flats, Arizona. Queen's mind was rushing with ideas as she sat on a large boulder, writing The Wrath of God. Hours have passed, years are gone, centuries repeat themselves. Yet, no one has caught on. We fuss and fight about who's right and who's wrong. You tell me I can do this, but I can't do that. Romans 10:9 and 10 tells me differently. And many times, I've read the word for myself, not listening to words of other men, who themselves are engulfed in sin. Judging everyone except themselves. So, I said to myself, searching hard, searching long, I will only look at my life, only at myself. Live according to that book that sits on my shelf. Judge no one, please no one, but listen to the Son. 'Cause he's the only one that can save me from the wrath to come. Believe me, it's not hard to avoid the wrath of God. She smiled at what was written and wrote, Me dreads. Me dreads are me dreads. Me dreads that me got, shows Jah the strength, wisdom, and the knowledge I got. Me dreads on me head, grow long for the time. They show who I am. No shame to me game, though you look at me strangely. Call me dreads names. When the truth comes to ya. Ye remember me name, ye remember me pain, ye remember what me say bout the wisdom, strength, and the knowledge me got on the head, with me dreads. For me, dreads are not dreaded, but locks. She laughed out loud, and everyone turned to look at her. Sorry, y'all, I was writing something funny. Then she got serious and wrote, Humans. Humans. Weak individuals that prey on the weaker, comes in all shades and colors. Some call those that are the same shade their brothers. However, many of them still have hatred for each other. This hatred that they have among themselves is mainly because of pride. This pride, they think they can hide. Always talking about love for one another. Yet, they still hate each other, for pitiful reasons. There's only a few whose love is true. A handful. Could one of them be you? Many enjoy being someone that they are not. If you tell them so, they will get hot. Many love power, which is a downfall for us all. Because of who we are, our lives will soon be in ruins. Who do I describe? Who am I referring to? Who? Humans. She wrote, Jacob and Esau. You are the sons of Jacob, I'm the sons of Esau. Brothers in the spirit, even in blood. Shall we continue to argue and fight? After centuries, yes, millenniums have passed. When shall we be brothers? Because we have different beliefs, we go to war. No more. Let's understand one another. Love one another. For we are all from the same seed. Abraham. Our grandfather. Can't you see in this war? Please, let us say, no more. We are brothers, we are kinsmen. Let us remember the story of our fathers, Jacob and Esau. And finally, she wrote, keep your head up. Kind, intelligent, and mesmerizing. But how life can be so surprising. One moment, you're happy as a lark, the next, empty, sad, frustrated, and depressed. But you have to take the bitter with the sweet. One man complains about having lost a finger, another complains about losing an arm. While someone who was born without any limbs, wakes up every morning, blessing God for another day. Everything in life has a purpose. Every event in our life makes us a better person, whether it's good or bad, so, don't be sad. Walking around smiling on the outside, while crying on the inside. Why not cry on the outside? So, within, there'll be a smile. Hope, determination. Easier said than done, some might think. That's why there's confusion and stress. Don't get me wrong, no, it's not easy. But trust in God, no matter the outcome. Think about the words of the infamous Tupac. When you think you're having bad luck, keep your head up. Queen, we missed our turn, a little over 2 miles, back there. We must return after the elders have rested, but this should be our last stop before arriving, said Dark Eagle with a map in his hand. We were talking about that old man. I must have got sidetracked also, said Queen before he saw Dark Eagle's hands pointing behind her. Who are they? As Queen turned, she saw 10 men riding in midair on sky crafts approaching quickly. The warriors gathered the elders and stood, ready to fight. The sky craft started slowing down and headed their way. They stopped before Queen and a man got off the sky craft. We come in peace, the man said. Queen looked at the man strangely, because he seems to be the leader of Anaya, but noticed his wardrobe. Your clothes are ancient Wakatilians. Are you Wakatilians? The man laughed. I don't know about ancient, but yes, I guess, you can just call me Wakatilians, and you? Queen said, I am Wakatilians. The man stretched out his hand and smiled, Hi, I'm Wanyenyekevu.